Ma'am, you can start your talk.
I'm trying to share my screen. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Can I increase my screen size?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Uma Venkataraman, and I've been handling history for the past 23 years. I have I've been teaching in IGCSE, ISC, and ICSE grades all these years. Today's topic of the day is learning and teaching history, a dynamic approach. While I'm going through this, I'll be discussing with you the topics of today, that is mastering history and the career opportunities that is there for history students. According to me, history is one subject that has a lot of misconceptions surrounding it. My humble work for today, my endeavor for today is to remove these misconceptions and make history as vibrant as the other subjects that holds very good prominence in India. So today I'll be dealing with first with the mastering of history. Now, according to me, the subject history has no time schedule. Past events is today's history, and today's events are future history. And what do you think history as a subject? There are two photographs up there on the screen. The first photograph shows a boy really perplexed, annoyed with the huge voluminous area to master in history. And the second comic strip, where the students and the teachers are more worried on the first history class about the past events. So, how do we change the perception about history? And one among the best things that should be followed in history is the timelines. I firmly believe in timelines. What are these timelines? Timelines are nothing but events unfolding in front of us, one after the other. Now, events that we daily we do, we come home and talk to our mother, don't we? Every day we are doing this, knowingly or unknowingly. Let us assume that we are going to cook something, a very particular dish on a joyous occasion. What are we going to do? We are going to take up the ingredients and add the ingredients one after the other for making a delicious final dish that is going to be ready on the table, which everybody is going to savor it. Now, this is what we are going to do with history also. What are the events that comes one after the other, put it in a sequential manner, put it in an organized manner, so that everybody can take it very lightly. Fun, involve a lot of fun, involving a lot of activity. That is what a history teacher like me would like to share with you all, friends. Now, here I'm going to take the example of the World War One. Now, history is incomplete with the two world wars. We all know that. Now, World War One actually happened between the years 1914 to 1919. But do you all know that the first event that unfolded as recorded in recorded history is from the year 1871? 1871, in the Franco-Prussian War, France was defeated by Prussia, otherwise known as Germany, and they lost the very valuable fields of Alsace and Lorraine to Germany. France lost those fields. From that day onwards, France was waiting for an opportunity to take revenge on Prussia or Germany. So many things happened with the help of the great visionary, one of the finest chancellors of Germany, Otto von Bismarck. They many a time with his Bismarckian alliances, many a time he averted war. But he tried to isolate France. That continued. And in the year 1914, as we history teachers call as the trigger or the immediate cause, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, the crown prince of Austria, by a Serb college dropout in the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo in 1914, immediately triggered the war, and the war was fought. Now, what are things that happened in between? Make it a fun learning game rather than giving them very rigid question and answers, or to ask the students to have a rigid framework. That will not help in mastering history. And as ardent students of history, the first thing that they should understand is unraveling their past is very important. When you go to your ancestral home where your grandparents are residing, what do you think? As soon as you enter the home, your grandfather, you not to test your memory, will ask who is there in that photograph. There's a huge family portrait kept over there: brothers, cousin brothers, aunts, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, so many of them. Your grandfather will test your memory by asking who is this, might be your uncle. Yes. So tracing our roots is very important. And with that in mind, if you learn history, it becomes an easy cakewalk. There's nothing to be annoyed about mastering history. Now we have two pictures over here, two photos over here that has come up on the screen. One is a boy is reading a book. The other one, the boy is observing certain things, observing certain pictures, certain events. Definitely, as somebody who is outside from the outside world of history, both the pictures are very, very ethical, and both are required for students for their growth. Reading, of course, is an integral part, but when you only read, it becomes monotonous for the students. But when the child observes things, goes through a museum or a collection of artifacts, collection of some memorabilia, the child relates itself to what the child has already comprehended or going to comprehend. Both the pictures do give a very positive reflection, but the second picture holds very important for students of history. Now, how are we going to have this new approaches to history? What could be the incentive to know our past? We all are eager to know our past. Now we go approach certain astrologers and others to know our past. Not required, not required. Just trace the roots, just trace our lineage, just make it a fun game, a learning experience. Definitely, it is very easy to master history. When I spoke about that boy who's observing things, I meant this was the point that I wanted to stress over there. A picture is worth 1,000 words. It has been proved time and again. Reading exercise by the teacher or a narration by the teacher for 20 minutes is equivalent to a 2-minute video that the child can see, or child can actually, if the teacher is or the facilitator can put the video in the classroom, that is equivalent to 20 minutes of the reading time from a book. So now, what is the traditional approach and what is the dynamic approach that I am going to bring in over here to make history a very, very wonderful subject? Yes, the traditional approach of reading from a textbook, just now I told you, a narration in the form of a story. See, a few years before, the aids, the toolkits that aided any teacher or a facilitator, the educational kits were very, very, very limited. Videos and other things were not there. Only big books of histories were that also with great difficulty we got. So it was all passed over by our senior teacher to the next generation teacher, and whatever the teacher could master and comprehend was given to the students. So it was blindfold reading through the textbooks. That was the only way that they could understand what are the happenings in the past. Now, if the same reading could be in the form of a storyline, just imagine how much of interest it will evince in the students. Now, nowadays, the toolkits are innumerable. Teachers have awareness level of the teachers and the facilitators have gone up. We have so many aids that help us in the classroom. Now, we are, and not only that, the generation of students have changed. We have a lot more different type of learners in our class, including kinesthetic learners, auditory learners, visual learners. And as a facilitator, as a responsible teacher or a facilitator, our duty is to make sure that all these three learning, the children, system of learning children are all accommodated. So these type, so when I'm talking about a visual learner or a kinesthetic learner, I should be bringing in those tools which could garner interest among them. Now that is why this shift from the traditional method to the modern method or the dynamic approach. When I'm talking about a video, I'm catering to a visual learner. When I'm talking about a role play or a short skit in the classroom, I'm talking about kinesthetic learners. When the teacher is actually narrating a story, then the auditory listeners, the listener are very much eager to hear about what the teacher is going to narrate. What's the story that is going to unfold? What's the next thing that is going to happen? So that is one biggest challenge with history teachers, to evince that interest in the students without becoming monotonous, and to wrap it up all. There is no need of asking them to write big essays. Instead, a quiz will do all the necessary transformation in the class. You want to understand what the child has, their understanding over the concept is very easy to understand through a quiz. So I have a lot of new tools, or we, the history teachers, have a lot of new tools, including videos, archives, quiz, role play, short skits, to attract the discerning learners of history. And let me just take one simple example now. In the board exams, whether it is ICSE, ISC, or IGCSE, the pattern of question is totally changed. Nobody is expecting a student to write big answers over there. What we teachers insist them is to revolve the answer around a keyword or a key point. Now, in IGCSE, they are one step ahead. They are most of the questions are opinions from the readers, from the students, opinionated answers. What do you think? Which country was responsible for the First World War? Why do you think it is like that? Give justification for that. So the child automatically gives his or her opinion in framing an answer. So that is the biggest difference between the traditional approach, whereas the dynamic approach. Remember, history does not change. Remember that. We are only giving everything and we are catering to the present day demands, the present generation of the children in a different manner, which we feel that it is not monotonous. So what now? That is the first part of mastering history becomes such an easy task if we can involve fun games, different learning approaches, catering to different kinds of learners, so that the end result could be really enormous enthusiasm in the classroom. The second part of my journey today is what history offers to students. We are talking about the career graph of history. We all know that when we take up sciences, it is very easily said that, oh, if you have taken up math as the core subject, you become an engineer. If you take biology as a core subject, you can become a doctor. You take law, you become a lawyer. Or you take finances and accountancy, you become a chartered accountant. Now, what does a student of history has to, I mean, has to, I mean, what does the society has to offer for a history student? Innumerable opportunities. Only thing, we need to actually explore the opportunities and come out of that eggshell where we are very cocooned inside that, come out and take some risks so that we have more of these students in the being encouraged by both the schools as well as the parents. Apart from learning history, just to know about the past, history offers a wide range of choices for a keen enthusiast. Let us analyze the scope of history from different viewpoints. Presenting history in 4 different viewpoints. So we have anthropology and forensic sciences, followed by museum curators, archivists, restoration of artwork, historic tourism, and art tourism. Of course, I'm going to take you through this journey one after the other. Anthropology is a study of human societies, cultures, and their development. As a history teacher, whenever I enter the class, I trace the origins of history by talking to them, giving them an introduction on the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Chalcolithic Age, the Paleolithic Age, and the Neolithic Age. Every age had a set of traits, had a set of characteristics, and every age catered to various, they gave out, exhibited various cultures in their development. For example, the log of wood that rolled down enabled these people who were in search of a bullock cart to make a bullock cart, because now they knew that a log of wood can roll down, that can be made into wheels. 2 stones can be rubbed to make fire. This is what encouraged the nomadic farmers to start a settled life. Now, this is very much common in history. When I talk about forensic sciences, the most important thing here is historic research has a lot to do with forensic sciences. The study of anthropology about the past and the present in a sequential manner has enabled experts to understand the DNA, the archaeological, the fingerprints, and whatever that has passed, which people never knew what has actually happened, has now taken a different route. People now, the historians can find out what has actually happened with the DNA and fingerprinting, and along with the help of the anthropologists, can connect the past to the present. So, for example, here I have taken up the the excavation of the graves in Hue in Vietnam. You know, in the war between Vietnam and the US, many innocent lives were lost because of the usage of chemical weapons by the US in the Vietnam War. Similarly, when I talk about history is incomplete without the study of mummies, the Egyptian mummies. The process of embalming them using some chemicals, and that particular process is known as mummification. Through archaeology and anthropology, we can determine the traits and the striking physical characters of the people who were in the grave. An example that I'm going to take up is about Tutankhamun, the greatest pharaoh of the Egyptian dynasty. It was assumed that he died, maybe he was poisoned, maybe he was murdered by somebody. But the fingerprinting and the DNA came as a big help to the historians and the archaeologists alike. They found out that it was not that. The DNA pictures and the X-rays that were taken out showed an injury in his limb, which in those days we thought, I mean, the medical advancements were very limited, and this Tutankhamun got infection. I mean, some infection spread through his body, and that was the cause of his death. Just imagine how much these DNA, fingerprinting, the understanding of the traits of the human being can throw surprises to us. 4 years back, around 172 graves of pharaohs were found intact in Egypt. Now the studies are going on with the fossils, so they are almost in the stage of fossils, and there's not only through fingerprinting and DNA can they find out what were the causes of the death. Maybe it is a mass mass extinction of human society, could be. So I mean, there are a lot of studies going on through that, and within a few years we will come to know. I also want to add here that it is within the past 2 years we have understood the writing script of the Indus Valley civilization. All this time we were under the impression that there was the writing script was not deciphered. It could be either left to right or right to left. Even that also we didn't know. Now with this new area of study, with the help of anthropology, connecting biology to social sciences, there's a lot of surprises for us. It's going to bring about a drastic change in the study and the need for more anthropologists in society. That is what we are aiming at. One of the biggest achievement of of history, and biggest eye opener for all history students. They can very well become an anthropologist. Yes. Next, museum curators. Of course, we all know, we all have been gone, we have all visited various museums, a collection of artifacts, collection of the past, and many a layman, we just walk through the corridors of the museum, nothing much to gain. We don't actually go through every written script over there, or what is printed and pasted over a particular artifact. No, we don't do. Generally, we don't do. Then it will take ages to cover at least one museum. Now, it is the duty of the museum curators to evince their interest in us. There are some, now after the pandemic, we can see online tours of museum. The museum curators, they talk about every object. So somebody is narrating a story or what has happened, definitely we will wait and watch and then go through everything and come. Rather than we alone going inside a museum and coming it does not have any significance over there. So his role has changed considerably. Curators are known to be important players for collaborating with history buffs and bridging the gap between historical artifacts and contemporary society. We need more knowledgeable curators for museums to make an impact in society. Then comes librarians. Yes, we have in our school, we have our own library. Some of them are big, some of them are small. And the librarians, we all approach the librarian for getting a book. It's very common everywhere, but from the historical perspective, how many of us go to a library to take a history, a book that covers the past knowledge of history? Very rare. Only maybe the facilitators who need to impart the education to the students, who want to have an interaction with the history students, we go there to take this book. Now, here, librarians play a very wonderful role. They can actually evince interest in the students. When they go to fetch a book, they can direct them to these books. So these books give you a better understanding about certain areas of the study that is there in their books, thereby directing students towards that right area where the books are kept. So librarians have a huge role to play, especially in historical libraries. I'm not talking about the normal librarians. There are many in number. And library sciences is a very wonderful area of study also. So in the current world where most of the information is in digital format, these are subject to changes or removal at the click of a button. We cannot change that. History cannot be erased. There should be somebody responsible to carry through the legacy of history. And librarians are an integral part of that system. So we want more librarians to come to to take care of the historical, the vast repertoire of historical books. Then archives.
Sorry to interrupt you, Miss Uma. I just wanted to remind you about the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll conclude it.
Sure. Thank you.
Archives, archives are, while libraries are repositories of published documents, archives hold materials that are unique and often come directly from original creators. Okay, so again, the job of an archivist must interest every student of history. Restoration of artwork, which is globally acclaimed now. Restoration of artwork is even what you call it is offered as a course in Western universities. And while we all want to make sure that the objects of yore and family heirlooms are preserved, we also want artifacts to be restored. The other important skills like 4 C's, which are required for Generation Z, are there in history, enough in history, like creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, are all available in huge amounts in history. So apart from all these things, they can also pursue tourism, media, journalism, politics, teaching, of course, research, civil services, archaeologists, and heritage walk guides. I wish to conclude by saying a quote of Marcus Garvey: people without the knowledge of their past, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. So, history in short: look at the past, comprehend the present, make informed decisions for the future. Thank you. I'm open to take the questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Uma. It was wonderful presentation. If you can stop sharing the screen so that the audience can have a better view of your picture. Thank you. So I see two participants in this meeting, ma'am. One is Millie Roy, and other person, I think it's the phone. Yes, the ID. I don't know the person's name. If he or she can unmute herself or himself and introduce, please. Can you introduce yourself? Can you unmute yourself? Miss Millie Roy, can you unmute yourself? If you have any questions, you can ask ma'am the questions, please. Okay. They don't want to ask. Unmute, I'll ask. No. They're not unmuting. If at all, like, if you want to have any questions, okay, Millie Roy is saying, I'm trying to unmute myself. Okay. Just a second. But not able to do so. Why? Okay. If you can start the video. Just give me 1 minute, Miss Uma. Miss Millie is trying to. Okay, she says like, I really like the presentation. For some reason, she's not able to unmute herself and turn on her video too. No problem. We will leave it there. Miss Millie, no worries. As long as you are hearing to Miss Uma, it would be great. So, ma'am, a couple of questions from my side. Miss Uma, I would like to ask you, I have prepared some questions from my side before listening to your talk, but you have covered like 100%. but if you can throw more light on it. Yes. So the first question is, ma'am, how do you believe a dynamic approach to learning history differs from traditional methods, ma'am?
uh, as I already explained about the traditional method of normal reading, teacher going into the class, taking a 30-minute or a 40-minute session, just talking about what all happened in the past, is would have been sufficient for those who were the past students, because the access to the gadgets, access to the modern world, or even maps were very limited at that point of time. But now, because we have another set of children and this new generation, the generation Z, who are on a daily basis looking at something new, every day is something new for them. So for those children to cater, I think the dynamic approach is required. Otherwise, a subject like history will become very stale. The students may not like to, have even a slice of it. They, and this generation Z is so creative, so inquisitive, so knowledgeable. Maybe the knowledge may not be, the knowledge that our teachers or the my teacher or the generation before me had. That I'm not talking about that kind of knowledge. Today's knowledge is just in the with the flip of a button. They can go to any site, understand. There are even students who question the teacher. So the teacher must have a very sharp weapon over there in order to be beyond that, and then still catch up their interest, make them sure that they are in the class and they are listening to the teacher. So the approach has to be different. There is no other way.
Right.
We need to go with the times. As the times go about, we also have to run along with them. Though we are from a previous generation, we cannot sit idle and say, oh, okay, I can only do this much. No, that is not possible with this generation Z. I think there's some weapons with us which immediately we also know about certain things. We at least we have to make sure that we update the information that we have. So I think dynamic approach is the only way to put these history students together. And many of them, let me be very frank over here, many parents do not know what history has to offer. Currently, there are some of them who knows the importance of history as part of civil services. Nowadays, history and geography has become a major subject for civil service examination. But beyond that, nobody knows anything. So I think a dynamic approach is essential for making the students comprehend whatever knowledge we have with us.
I understand, ma'am. So, coming to the teaching in a very interesting way, you said like you have to make it interesting for the student to understand. So, what role do you see storytelling playing in the dynamic teaching of history, and how can educators effectively incorporate it, ma'am?
Yes. First of all, storytelling right from a tender age of 3 or even before that nowadays. I have heard some mothers telling that the child is even listening while in the womb of the mother. So that is the way the current day children are. They are so inquisitive, and they have an ear for everything, good or bad. So that is how they are all brought up. And of course, things have changed. We need to, as I just now mentioned, we also need to change along with them. Storytelling is something is creates that feeling in the child. What is going to come up? What is going to come up? So today there's a narration of, so as per the age, if we take up a particular story, there were two friends. They went to a particular forest to collect twigs, and lo and behold, there appeared a huge figure in front of them. The figure promised these little ones that no, you need not work to collect the twigs. I will help you in the process. And so takes these two students, these small children, to a cave, and inside the cave, the students could, I mean, these children could, small ones, the tiny ones could see some paintings. So in that paintings, that person, that figure that appeared in front of these little children, he talks about the past. So as in history, we definitely talk about the Stone Age, the Chalcolithic Age, the Paleolithic Age, and whatever has happened, all rock informations written on rocks, paintings inside the rocks, all these things. And then so every step of the story, the child is inquisitive. What is going to happen next? I have entered a cave. Is the cave going to be very dark, pitch dark? That's what the parents, I mean, the parents of these tiny ones have taught them. You can't. A cave is a very scary place. That's the information that they have. So with that, but they go, because that is why I told you, Generation Z is really creative. They're inquisitive. They want to know more. So without any fright, they're going with this person. That itself, a few generations before, my generation also would not have followed a stranger. These children go, they understand about these things. So every step is a big adventure for them. So that is why I told you stories.
Miss
Yeah.
Millie Roy is asking you if is there any history newsletter I may subscribe to keep me updated.
Millie is asking.
Yes, yes.
Newsletter as such, DIDAC, that organization is bringing a newsletter, and one more newsletter is being brought out by Wipro. I think, Millie, I will collect more information on that and let you know. One such newsletter is happening where we can give contribution. I mean, we as history teachers can contribute to the newsletter, and I have done once, but it was a few years before. Just a teacher's corner, so social studies corner, started by Wipro, they have their own college, right? So the social studies children, or I'm sorry, not social studies, that's entire social studies, that economics, sociology, all those children have started this newsletter. Let me, the faint memory of when I had contributed an article. I'll just find out, Millie, and let you know.
Ma'am can explore more on that and provide you the information. Miss Millie, I hope, I know you are not able to unmute yourself, but I hope you have satisfied with the answer. You are satisfied with the answer. We have another attendee, ma'am, Miss Sangeeta Vijay. Miss Sangeeta, you are already unmuted. If you have any questions, you can ask, ma'am. Miss Sangeeta, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you have any questions, Miss Sangeeta? You can ask ma'am or Miss Uma.
Yeah. Uma ma'am, can you just suggest some very good websites where we can have download videos and show children?
From the archives of the World War, there are a lot, innumerable archives available in the I mean, what you call, in YouTube and other things. And there is one more, aleph.com, which caters mostly to the World War. That's World War I, World War II, and Cold War, and the current imminent war raging between Ukraine and Russia. It is covering all those areas. It is a very new site that has come up, because currently I'm handling IGCSE. I need all these information, so I have enrolled myself. And then there is one more thing, my student teacher talk. There is one more website which gives you insight into all these things. And apart from that, Teacher Tribe also offers opportunities for us to contribute articles in history. All these magazines, I'm a member of all these things. Definitely, I can share the link with Sangeeta ma'am and Millie ma'am, and you can connect with me for that.
Thank you so much, Uma ma'am.
Welcome, Sangeeta.
Thank you, Miss Sangeeta. If you have any more questions, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll proceed with my questions, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. So, ma'am, because of the time constraint, though I have prepared a couple of more questions, I would like to ask only two. So one thing is, how do you address the challenge of teaching controversial or sensitive topics within a dynamic framework, ma'am?
A wonderful question. I think this is the question of the day. As history teachers, and while tracing the history subject from 1857, that's the first war of Indian independence, to 1947, when we actually got our Indian independence, we are talking a lot about the different communities where always it's a controversy in our country. I use this word in the class that please do not take up religion in the class. Okay, religion is something, it's like a burning fire. And when we are talking about the burning fire, a small spark is only required to burn an entire thing. So while we are teaching these subjects, if at all there are, so you right now I'm not going to take up the name of the two communities. We are predominantly one community, and the other community, definitely we have less numbers in the classroom. While I was teaching these ICSE classes, what I used to do is, first of all, I make an apology in the class. If at all I hurt your sentiments, please, it is not my personal opinion. It is as part of your study, I have to take up this area. So that is the first tendering an apology from an elderly person like a teacher or a facilitator does create some magic in the children, and the children will not feel anything bad. Now, when we are talking in a common platform, in a platform where adult members are there, I refrain from talking. I am also a human rights activist. I am a diploma holder in human rights. I bring only human the demands of the human beings as a whole into the picture. I never touch religion. I never touch caste, communism. So I always say, like our constitution, we are human beings first. We are not based on our caste, our gender, our sex, our creed, or our community doesn't come into the picture. We as human beings must uphold certain principles, and those principles will hold good for the entire generation or the entire society.
Very well explained, ma'am. One last question. How has the field of history evolved in terms of career opportunities over the years?
Yes, ma'am. Just now I told you, many of the parents are aware of civil services, and we as teachers, we have found out something different now. We have students for history, sociology. I mean, all the humanities subjects put together. We have economics, sociology, we have history, we have psychology. All these subjects put together, we are seeing a surge in demand. A few years before, economics, of course, economics, business, accountancy had its own charm, but now children are opting for sociology, psychology, and other things, mainly because the pressure on every child has created some sort of fear psychosis in the child. You can see, we read a lot about suicides and other things. Pressure from various quarters have also encouraged parents to give the freedom to students to take up whatever they want to do in future. And that's exactly today what I wanted to take it to the forefront, that there are multiple opportunities for them. Multiple opportunities, not only civil services. I have a student in my class, a student, because I am now handling British curriculum. I have a student from Uzbekistan, and he told me the first day itself, I was just asking about their dreams and aspirations. They told me that, no, miss, I want to become a history teacher like you. In the first class, he told me. So there are parents now coming up with, with the world expanding and the globe coming into a nutshell, various communities interacting with each other. I think there is a large amount of interest in subjects other than engineering, and let us not name them. They are the traditional subjects. Everybody wants to master that. Now there is a shift from that area to our humanities area, mainly because the value of human being is understood now. the psychology, the pressures, and the other things associated with this is understood now. Slowly the stigma in society is now moving away. So even in the marriage market, it becomes very difficult. A few years before, understand you were an engineer or a highly accomplished person, even marriage was an impossible task. Again, marriage comes under the purview of history and society. So that's why I took that example. So I think there is a definite shift, and we as history teachers, we are going to give that push to every student. Now, we are not coercing anyone to take up history, but we always will be telling what are the good effects of all these humanities subjects that is very important for the development of a child, of a student. So that is
very well explained, ma'am. Thank you for the talk and for patiently answering all the questions, ma'am. I know those were repetitive, and I enjoyed questions of Miss Sangeeta and Millie Roy. I hope you got the information, and Miss Millie, you will get the newsletter, get to subscribe the newsletter too. I thank the participants also. You took your time and you have attended the session. We will end the session now, ma'am. Do you want to mention anything else, Miss Uma?
Thank you. Thank you so much. School reformers gave me a chance to express myself. And this is a wonderful platform where teachers like us can come out with our own views. And then we will get a lot more publicity with this. And not for anything commercial, not for anything financial. It is just the love for the subject that has made me come here and talk to you. And let me hope that it is going to influence a lot of people around us. And with that positive, information, I conclude my speech.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. I will stop the recording now and I'll end the session.